In a surprising turn of events, the Trump administration has announced an exemption for electronics from the recently imposed tariffs on Chinese imports. This unexpected move came late Friday, April 11, 2025, offering a reprieve to tech giants and consumers alike. The exemption applies to a wide array of electronics, including smartphones, computer monitors, and various electronic parts. This development is retroactive to April 5, 2025, affecting products entering the U.S. or removed from warehouses from that date forward. The decision follows the implementation of a minimum 145% tariff rate on Chinese goods entering the United States. This aggressive trade maneuver, a hallmark of President Trump's economic policy, sent shockwaves through global markets and sparked fears of a full-blown trade war. The tariffs, a response to what the administration deemed unfair trade practices by China, threatened to disrupt global supply chains and increase prices for consumers. The impact of these tariffs on the technology sector, heavily reliant on Chinese manufacturing, was particularly worrisome. Companies like Apple, which assembles a significant portion of its iPhones in China, faced the prospect of soaring production costs and disrupted supply lines. The potential fallout for consumers was equally concerning, with experts predicting significant price hikes on everyday electronics. The exemption announcement was met with relief from the tech industry, which had been bracing for a significant blow. Apple, heavily reliant on Chinese manufacturing for its iPhone production, was among the biggest beneficiaries of this decision. With an estimated 90% of iPhone production and assembly taking place in China, the tariffs threatened to cripple the tech giant's supply chain and drive up prices for its flagship product. Other major players in the tech industry, such as Nvidia and Microsoft, also breathed a collective sigh of relief. These companies, heavily invested in Chinese manufacturing for various components and products, faced similar challenges in the face of escalating trade tensions. The exemption provides a much-needed reprieve, allowing them to maintain current production levels and pricing strategies without absorbing the brunt of the tariffs. The semiconductor industry, a critical component of the global tech ecosystem, also received a welcome reprieve. Semiconductors and microchips, often outsourced to Asian factories, are now exempt from the tariffs. This decision is particularly beneficial to Asian chipmakers like TSMC, Samsung, and SK Hynix, which supply these essential components to many U.S. tech companies. The exemption, however, has not come without its share of controversy. President Trump, in a recent RNC event, criticized the Biden administration's $6.6 billion grant to TSMC for semiconductor production in Arizona. This criticism, rooted in Trump's America First economic policy, highlights the ongoing debate over government subsidies and their role in shaping global trade. The sudden exemption for electronics has once again highlighted President Trump's unpredictable approach to trade policy. Known for his aggressive negotiating tactics and penchant for brinkmanship, Trump has kept both allies and adversaries guessing throughout his presidency. The initial imposition of tariffs, followed by a targeted exemption, appears to be a calculated strategy aimed at securing concessions from China and bolstering domestic industries. Trump's America First economic agenda has been a cornerstone of his presidency. This policy, centered on reducing trade deficits and bringing manufacturing jobs back to the United States, has often put him at odds with China, the world's second-largest economy. The recent tariff saga is just one example of Trump's willingness to use tariffs as leverage in trade negotiations, even if it means disrupting global markets and unsettling long-standing alliances. The electronics tariff exemption can be seen as a strategic move in this ongoing trade war. By offering a concession on a sector heavily reliant on Chinese manufacturing, Trump may be aiming to gain leverage in other areas of contention, such as intellectual property rights and forced technology transfer. This tactical approach, while potentially effective in the short term, has drawn criticism for its unpredictability and potential to destabilize global trade relations. While the exemption provides some much-needed relief, it remains unclear whether it signals a softening of Trump's stance on China or is merely a tactical maneuver in a larger trade war. The future of U.S.-China trade relations remains uncertain, with the potential for further tariffs and retaliatory measures looming large. The exemption of electronics from Trump's tariffs has undoubtedly brought a wave of relief to the tech industry and consumers alike. However, the long-term implications of this decision remain uncertain. While the exemption is a welcome reprieve, it is essential to remember that it could be reversed, and other product categories could face future duties. The temporary nature of this exemption highlights the volatility of the current trade landscape. President Trump, known for his unpredictable policy shifts, could reinstate tariffs if he deems it necessary. This uncertainty makes it challenging for businesses to plan long-term and could hinder investment in the tech sector. Moreover, the underlying trade tensions between the US and China remain unresolved. The issues of intellectual property theft, forced technology transfer, and market access, which initially triggered the trade war, are far from settled. Until these fundamental disagreements are addressed, the specter of tariffs and trade barriers will continue to loom large. The electronics tariff exemption is a positive development for the tech industry and consumers. However, it is crucial to approach this victory with cautious optimism. The future of global trade remains uncertain, and the potential for further disruptions cannot be discounted.